Hey guys, it's Dean. Welcome to the Better Man podcast. Today's episode is an interview with Dr. Anthony Balduzzi from the Fit Father Project. Anthony is a good friend of mine. He's also an expert in the health and wellness field, specifically in weight loss for men and women with his Fit Father Mother brand. In this conversation today, we're going to talk about how you think about your fitness and why it's holding you back. So we're going to go through a combination of both tactics and deep work in this tactics to help you make your fitness happen that day, as well as deeper work to help you unpack subconscious beliefs and self-sabotage holding you back. We're going to talk about how to ease into your workouts or scale back in order to stay consistent and help you make a long-term process. We're also going to discuss why busy work and other dopamine hits get in the way of your exercise and how to change that. We're also going to talk about how you can use your environment and planning ahead to make your workouts easier and require less motivation. And lastly, we're going to talk about why coming up with rules and guidelines for yourself is a lot more effective than having flexibility. This is a really good conversation. Anthony is, again, he's a good friend of mine. We talk about this stuff all the time. I like that we go kind of deeper into this beyond the logistics of fitness and really into the mindset and changing the way that you think about your health and wellness. Because if we can get from a place of I have to I get to, that unlocks the doors for you living a healthier life. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it inspires you to be a better man, and I'll see you on the other side. Hey, guys, it's Dean. Welcome to the Better Man podcast. I've got my good friend, Dr. Anthony Balduzzi here from the Fit Father Project back, and we're going to talk about how you think about your health and your wellness and why it's probably holding you back. So, Dr. A, the Doozmeister, the Doozer, welcome back. I don't call him any of those things. Welcome back.
Thanks. I do like having the last name Balduzzi. It does get the doozy kind of things. Microsoft Word auto corrects it to bulldozer, and which is pretty awesome. I mean, I kind of missed out on being Dr. Bulldozer.
Oh, well, I
Life would
feel
have had
like
a better trajectory.
you could probably like become an actor or like a some sort of personality with Anthony Bulldozer.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'd have to
Anyway,
take like a ton of steroids though. It's in 2025. I'd need to be humongous, like get rock size and do some things. Anyways, we got off track, bro.
we
We
got we have been off track since we started this call 20 minutes ago. Let's be serious.
Okay.
But we are going to get back on track. And so something that I think sets us apart from maybe traditional health and wellness is that we really think a lot about how we think about things, right? It's not just the logistics of, okay, you should eat this much protein and you should work out this many minutes per day. But we also think about how do we think about our fitness, or what are the feelings that we have when we start a workout, or what are the feelings that we have at night when we choose the pint of ice cream instead of the stretching session while we're watching TV. And I think these are things that are really important that should be discussed. And I think more people in general just need to do more reflection. But I think if you can put some effort, some thought into these areas, you're going to be a lot more successful with your health and fitness. And the reason why I bring this up is because I started doing one-on-one training with people about a year and a half ago. And there's I noticed with a lot of these guys that they spend a lot of their time kind of leading up to the point where they start their workout, right? So it's 5 o'clock, they get home, they're going to do their workout at some point in the evening, and they spend like 3, 4, some of them even like 6 hours, like 6 p.m. until midnight, just dreading their workout. And then they finally do their workout. But I'm looking at it like, well, man, you spend 5 hours with this negative thinking about your workouts. What do you think that's doing for you, you know? And
Mhm.
so that's where I look at things kind of outside the box and I think, wow, like what would happen if we could change the way you think about your fitness and make it something that you look forward to rather than something that you dread. So I'll just hand that over to you and you can say what you want.
Cool. I think let's just like describe that situation of the person who gets home at 5, has the plan to work out at 5:30, 5:45 before dinner, but doesn't do it until 11 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
they have resistance in some form or fashion to doing the workout. Like they associate it with some degree of pain. It's not fun, or they'd hop into it. So it's a painful experience for them. This could be a number of reasons, and we can tease these out in a little bit. It could be partly that exercise is hard and challenging. They don't feel competent, so they kind of feel stupid. And maybe that's like an old wound.
Mm.
It could be that their body literally hurts and it's not pleasurable to do these things. And it could be that they have like a lot of baggage of just associations around like exercise, taking too much time, and other limiting beliefs that all get stacked into resistance. So they don't do it. And then as hours go on, the pressure builds up. The guilt and the shame that they said they were going to do it, but they don't do it, builds up to such a point that now it actually becomes more painful at 11 o'clock not to work out than it does to finally get it in, because they know they have a call with you the next day and they do not want to have the experience of saying, dude, I pay you a lot of money and I didn't do my exercise. So it's like finally enough pain built up that it's actually more painful to not exercise, and then they go do it. So it's
Mm-hmm.
nice to really understand that we're operating on these pain and pleasure kind of levers, and it has to do with our neural circuitry. And there's many aspects we can do. We can work on changing the environment to make it more conducive, to make it easier for us to enter into these things that are hard, looking at some of those beliefs that underpin this. But it's important to just understand, like, we are primal creatures. We are moving towards pleasure. We're moving away from pain. And it's not like these things are objective aspects. Like every part of our life is not objectively painful. It's subjectively painful, which means there's a relationship to things. So if we change the relationship to things, we change the ease, which changes the ease that we can be consistent and engage with these things. So a little bit of like a neuroscience-y nervous system frame of that, but that's basically what I see happening in that point in time.
Yeah. And something else that comes up in that time for those people is the dopamine rush, the allure of a dopamine rush from other productivity tasks. So that was a really
Mm-hmm.
wordy way to say putzing around and getting other things done that will make you feel good about yourself but aren't your workout, right? So that's things that everyone has to do. They're legitimate things that people have to do, right? Maybe it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to spend a few minutes cleaning up the counter here, or I have some, I have some mail that I have to take care of, or
Yep.
maybe it's like whatever it is. But there are these things that need to get done. But
Mm-hmm.
given the choice between, do I do the thing that's going to give me a dopamine rush and is easy, or do I do the thing that is harder and gives me a dopamine rush? It's very easy to justify, well, these are things that need to get done, so I'm going to go do these other things instead.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the day, you look back at your evening and you're like, oh, I didn't work out today, but I did all these other things that I had to
Yeah.
do. And so it's this, it's this desire just to get a dopamine rush, which is normal, right? Like all
Yes.
humans have this desire to, like, literally what happens when you get home is, just imagine yourself getting home, and what your brain does is it scans the environment for what are things that I can do that will make me feel good, right? And so some of
Mm-hmm.
that is, oh, I could do this task and that will make me feel good, or it could be, I'm going to eat this thing because that's going to make me feel good. So you're constantly searching for things that are going to make you feel good. And it's all of those choices. That's the other part of this, is like there's so many things that you could do, right? And there's so many options that you negotiate with yourself. You're like, oh, I'll do my workout at 6 o'clock instead of 5:45 because I still have time to do a workout. Then 6 o'clock comes. Well, I'll just do a 15-minute routine at
Mm-hmm.
6:15 instead of my 30-minute workout that I planned. And then at 6:15, you're like, oh, maybe I can just do a 10-minute workout. And so you
Mm-hmm.
constantly negotiate with yourself. You're giving yourself too many choices. And when you give yourself that freedom, it makes me think of the very popular book, the Jocko Willink book, Freedom is Discipline, or Discipline is Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And when you give yourself too many choices, you end up with decision paralysis, right? Nothing happens because there's too many options. And so
Mm-hmm.
for these guys, it's trying to create an exercise habit that happens at a specific time
Right.
every day, or in a
Mm-hmm.
specific order when you get home, so that when it comes time to do it, you recognize, oh, it's time to do it. I'm not going to try and make these different decisions. I'm not going to give myself the option. And then you know, you get yourself to do the thing.
Hmm. There was a lot of really good stuff that you shared that I want to just maybe emphasize a few highlights and then we can expand on the territory. We're getting to a good spot.
Yeah.
That whole dopamine thing is like so true. And it's interesting how like I'm a guy who has like mastery in my physical health and fitness, but I can totally relate in my work life to having like really deep work that I need to do, like design an important piece of writing or a web page or work on a program or something, but I'll do like the small email tasks and then it takes till late at night where I want to finish it that day where I get it done. So I
Yeah.
can so relate. And I think this is why a lot of the productivity gurus have the phrase of like eat the frog, in the sense of like the thing you don't want to do, like do
Mm-hmm.
it first and do it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Easier said than done for sure, but if you can find a way to like make eat the frog like your mantra, which means like essentialism, like what is the one most important thing that I could get done today that if everything else didn't get done, because quite frankly all those small things like dropping off the mail, writing that check, cleaning the house, like is not typically essential day of, but the big things are. So
Mm-hmm.
if we get back to essentialism, I think that is a good aspect. And then I want to get into maybe like how we can really set up good routines, like the anatomy of habits, that idea that every habit has a cue or a
Mm-hmm.
trigger, which is something you see. So I think people who are struggling to get home and exercise often don't have a good cue. They don't have a strong enough cue to go ahead and do this. And
Mm-hmm.
then the routine is often not well defined, but if you're doing Manflow or Fit Father workouts, you know exactly what to do and you can just follow along. And then the reward you get after fact is often not well established and created. So what I'm thinking is like exercise is almost best done when you're not having a full stomach, right? It's almost best done on an empty stomach. So
Okay.
if you have this kind of scenario where you have dinner at, let's just say 6:30, like that could be stacked in, right? Again, easier said than done, but like that could be a very tangible reward. What is your cue that you can establish to get directly into that?
Mm-hmm.
And then one other thing before I hand it back to you is I think David Goggins has like a lot of great content on this topic, and he basically says like this is a guy who does all these like really extreme physical pursuits and like lives his life on like super discipline, insane mode all the time, and he still has that weak voice that says, "Oh, you don't need to work out, you don't need to do this." And what he does is he says like, "Okay, like more or less, I hear you." But I'm still just gonna, instead of like that half marathon, I'm just gonna go run a mile. So for your workout, for example, like, okay, maybe I don't feel like working out right now. Maybe got a lot of things to do. I'm just going to go do warrior two pose for 2 minutes, or I'm just going to go sit in a yoga squat or do 20 squats and 20 push-ups and assess how I feel. Like once you're in motion, the whole chemistry, and it makes it so much easier to get into motion. So it's like, what if the only thing we actually needed to solve was engaging into like the initial momentum of it? And what
Yeah.
if we didn't make this such a monumental thing? Like, what if you're like, okay, maybe I'm not fully committed to the workout. I understand I feel this resistance, but like, I would feel pretty dang good if I did 50 push-ups and 50 squats and it took me 5 minutes. If I just got that done, I'll feel like I did something really good. And then turns out a lot of the time when you go ahead and do that, you're going to feel motivated to finish the next 10, 20 minutes.
Right.
And the other thing I'll say is this is a little more like tactical is, okay, so we have a cue. We can establish this very visually. So you drive the car home, you open the garage, like, is your workout gear sitting right there? Do you have the workout printed and laying on the ground what to do? Is your laptop where you play Manful of workouts like sitting right there for you? Like, how do we create strong visual cue? The routine, you can have a flex routine where you have the full 45-minute or 1 hour workout, and you also have the 10-minute version. And these are already predefined, so you can deploy either one of those. And then the reward afterwards has to be salient. It has to be good. It could be really tasty protein shake, piece of fruit, dinner, something fun. Like, I don't know, but establishing that. I know there's a lot that I shared there, but there's some good ideas in that.
Yeah. And like, so going back to cues and behavior science, right? I love this. I reread Atomic Habits and Tiny Habits every year. It's my go-to resource on how to build habits. And I always get something. It's kind of like reading Harry Potter. I've read it so many times that I'm like, I know every sentence and I'm like, okay, I remember this. And when I find a new sentence, I'm like, oh, I didn't recognize that before, but I'm so familiar with it. But I love the concepts that are covered in those books. And something that's really important, I'll draw from two examples from that. The first thing is a very specific cue. So like
Mm-hmm.
super specific. It's not enough to say after I get home, I will do my workout. Because what happens when you get home? What is that? What are the actual actions that happen when you get home? Well, you
Yeah,
get home,
keys,
you
door, you
step
see
out
a
the
bunch of stuff.
car.
Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly, right? So it has to be specific. Like after I set my keys down and change out of my work clothes and leave my bedroom and enter the living room, I will walk to where I do my workout and start my workout, right? It has to
Hmm.
be very, very specific. And I think people don't understand that, giving yourself, I will do a workout in the evening. Like there's too much ambiguity there. You should be able to hand over a written explanation of the exercise habit to someone
Hmm.
else in such detail that they will be able to do it the exact way that you do it. That's
That's
what
cool.
it needs to be. It's got to be super specific. And then the other thing, this is a concept that is brought up in Atomic Habits, and it is specific to exercise. There's a famous dancer. I forgot what her name is. She's a dance instructor. She lives in New York City, and she works out every day. And I'm assuming that she's in her 60s or 70s or
Hmm.
something at this point, and she doesn't think about her exercise habit as the entire hour and a half that it takes, whatever it is. Her only job is to get in the taxi and get to the gym,
Yeah.
right? So if you can think about the only thing that you need to do is get to your exercise area
Yes.
and press play on the workout or open up the workout on your phone or
Yep.
open up or have like a printed copy of the workout,
Yep.
that's the habit. All you need to do is start the workout. And
Yes.
it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how you feel as you start. And I'm not saying that because I think you should say, F your feelings, do something hard, nobody cares. Like, I don't think that's the right mentality to have. But I think it is important to say, okay, how am I feeling? Okay, I'm not motivated. Okay, cool. Like, I'm not motivated. Why would that be? Well, exercise is hard, right? It takes energy, so I'm not motivated. I worked out yesterday. I'm sore. I didn't sleep well today. Cool. Those are all things to take into account and recognize and acknowledge, right? Don't gaslight yourself. But then you can also acknowledge all of those things and say, okay, cool. That's right. This is what I'm feeling. And I am also going to do my workout because that's important to
Yep.
me. So,
Let me chime in on this for a second. I think like respecting our feelings for sure. At the same time, like what we're experiencing as the conscious thought, like I don't feel motivated to exercise or I just don't feel like it today, is based on much deeper subconscious feelings, traumas, relationships that we justify in the conscious mind with some kind of more rational reason.
mm,
Like there could be a reason that you don't feel motivated to work out is because you actually don't feel good about yourself, that you feel unsafe, that you feel just totally overwhelmed. And then you just have some reason that you justify in the logical mind. And if we just think of ourselves as our logical mind and we kind of forget that we have this deep subconscious of feelings and relationships and stuff that's just not under the surface, then we just become, you know, I think it's the Carl Jung quote: if you don't make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And
mm,
so it's really important just to recognize that motivation is not something that you necessarily have. It's something that can be created as you unwind these patterns and you move into energy and activation. And I love
yeah,
what you said. And the same thing that I said is like, just get into motion. Like, what if you make that your relationship to your exercise practice? The whole thing is just getting in and getting it done. And
yeah,
I want to do one more very practical ping, like tie it to food intake. At the end of the day, we want to eat a nice meal, like most of us do, unless you're intentionally fasting for a practice. Like we want to have a nice meal. And that feels like a way that the human system relaxes. We sit down, we enjoy food that tastes good, oftentimes with people that we love. Like if you start to create like a habit stack where you move your body in some fashion before you have that meal, something gets done there that also is going to give you a little more leverage. And if you need to understand a little more of the science, like it is not optimal to put food into your system, especially a heavier dinner meal, and then go demand after the fact, with even within 1 or 2 hours, that your body and your muscles go exercise, that you divert all that blood that wants to be in your GI tract to the muscles. We're also learning now that late night exercise way too late can seriously disrupt your sleep. It
Mhm.
raises core temperature. It can increase sympathetic nervous system tone when we want to be cool and more relaxed. And there's going to be a lot more people that are going to be saying, hey, like, be wary of late night exercise. So another reason to maybe do it earlier in the day. So what I'm sharing is both the habit stacking concept, but also when you connect to some intellectual understandings of physiology and why other things are optimal, then you're just getting more stools on this leg of belief that this is an optimal time. This is when I should do this. Oh, and my only goal is to get into action. It's not to like think I have to do the whole thing. It's like climbing the mountain. Your goal is to start the climb, not like to necessarily, I need to be at the summit right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I read this. Have you read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by
I've seen the
Yes.
cover in every airport, but no, I haven't read
Yeah,
it.
it's there's it's a really good book, and there's one concept in there that I always recall, like probably the most important concept that I covered in that book, and it flips the paradigm that motivation leads to action, and instead it teaches us that action leads to motivation. It's
Yep.
getting things in motion that leads to motivation. You might be able to sit around and wait for motivation to strike. You know, I know a lot of, I have a friend of mine who's pretty fit. And he says, whenever I do a workout, I just watch this 4-minute video on YouTube and it gets me jacked every time. And that might be what you need. But action, if we understand that action leads to motivation,
Mm-hmm.
then that means that we need to take action in order to feel the desire to do something more. It's not the other way around. And that's such a big shift.
Yep.
So, practically speaking, I've done a lot of content on this, but kind of like easing into the routine. So, okay, maybe starting off your exercise routine, maybe it's pressing play on the yoga workout. Maybe it's, okay, I've got heavy squats today. Maybe that feels like too much right now. Well, what
Yep.
can you do to ease into that? So, like for me in the morning, I've recently, probably within the last year, gotten into an exercise habit of doing yoga in the morning. And it's absolutely crucial for me. It helps me with my back, it helps me with my feet, with my ankles. And the only way that I was able to start that was I just got down on the ground after waking up, still feeling kind of groggy, still feeling tired, not really being a morning exercise person. I've always worked out in the evening. And I just laid down on the ground, like where I would do yoga. And then I'd bring my legs over to one side. And then I'd bring my legs over to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd say, okay, core exercise. Here we go. And just go straight into some dead bugs. And it
Yeah.
felt really intense at first. But after doing that for a few days, I think it only took 3 days, honestly. My body started to make a change. It actually started to look forward to the workouts. And so
Mm-hmm.
you will make those changes, but you just need to do the thing and ease into it. So another way, you could go for a walk first, right? You might not feel up to doing
Mm-hmm.
a yoga session or a weightlifting session, but can you put your shoes on and go for a walk around the block, right? So
Mm-hmm.
easing into things, I think, is a really good way to scale up the necessary motivation that you need to be able to do workouts.
Yeah, and like let's talk about like if what we're running is like if we were to code our thoughts as like a software program,
Mm,
and the more specific we made the parameters for like the program to run successfully, like workout must require peak motivation plus 45-minute man flow follow along session at 5:15 to 5:45 before dinner. Like those are very specific parameters for things to run successfully, and if any of those variables are off, like no
mm,
bueno. But if you were to simplify that down to the core, that's like I do some movement before dinner. And
mm,
like that is the core, the amount of flexibility that happens, like even if I don't feel like it. Maybe that's the program. I do some movement before dinner, even if I don't feel like it. Damn, that could
mm,
be so many things. It could be a walk. It could be a bounce on a rebound or trampoline. It could be the set of push-ups. It could be, actually the full workout in the exact parameters that you originally planned it. But like that is a flexible program that actually builds positive momentum and leads me to my next point, which is, I guess, a little more of a identity. You can maybe call it like moralistic or maybe even like on your spiritual path is we have this concept that on each of us there's like a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, that we have the part of us that is guiding us towards our greatest expression, and then we have the temptation part of us that is looking for those short-term pleasures, knowing that there's some long-term pain. And this is like a theme that is echoed in all of these different cultures and traditions. Like one of the
Mm.
famous ones that many people know is in the Cherokee tradition. The Cherokee Native Americans, they have the idea that there's two wolves inside of us. And there's the wolf that's the good wolf that wants to protect and lead, and then there's the bad wolf that wants to destroy and dominate. And basically the chief, when telling the story to his grandson or granddaughter, says, hey, like the thing is, I recognize I have both these things in me, and what I also know is that the wolf that I feed is the wolf that gets stronger. So when you really internalize that concept, that every time that you get home, you have a chance to give a piece of meat to one of those two wolves. And it's actually going to set up what becomes easier in the next day and the next day. And so your choice isn't just no longer like a momentary thing. You're actually creating a neurological conditioning for what becomes easier, what becomes harder in the future. And we obviously want to make things easier and more consistent for ourselves in the future. So framing it out of the just today environment, and we recognize that this whole process of what we're doing, encountering resistance, is really neurologic wiring, and the choices we have end up having a little more weight. And so I'm saying, even if you took a 5-minute walk and you did a little bit of stretching and like a plank for 1 minute, you fed the good wolf.
Mm.
If you didn't, if you miss this or you don't do anything, you actually fed the bad wolf, if you will. That makes it harder the next day. So I think these are important concepts as well. And where I bring in what I consider to be my spirituality is like, I want to, as much as I can, express my greatest capacity and not be a slave to the things that are tempting me and kind of keeping me stuck in patterns that I know don't serve my fullest expression. And so I make that, I take that mindset and I put that on all aspects of my life, into my work life, into my workouts. And then it becomes a game of my like personal expansion and evolution that transcends any particular content. It's the broader context of honestly feeding the good wolf in whatever way that shows up in a specific domain.
Mm. Yeah, that's it's a good way to think about it. I think I want to kind of go back to what we were talking about before, with kind of those deeper thoughts in the subconscious. You were kind of talking about it from a Carl Jung perspective, but I want to go back to those because I think a lot of this logically sounds really good to a lot of people, right? I think a lot of people will hear this and they'll say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. If I just ease into some of these habits, or if I do this instead of that, then I'm putting the momentum in the right way." I think what I've found within, within the Manful Yoga community, and I'm sure you've seen this within the Fit Father Project Brotherhood, but there are a lot of people who are just, they're stuck. And like you can talk about this stuff all you want to, but they're still just kind of stuck. And in order for people to work through that feeling of being stuck, it does require some level of therapy. You might not call it therapy, maybe you call it coaching, but it requires you to actually look at those
Mhm.
deeper subconscious feelings and those deeper beliefs and understand, okay, why is it so hard for me to work out? And it could
Mhm.
be that, I hear the story all the time in Manful Yoga. Maybe you were that last kid picked in gym class, right?
Mhm.
So maybe you don't want to work out because holy crap, like think of how terrible that makes you feel, right? So
Mhm.
exercise might make you feel really
Shameful.
poorly,
Yeah.
right? So it could be that. It could be that you've just never been successful with fitness, and so anytime you think about a workout, you associate that with failure. So there are there's deeper things at work here than just why can't I do my workout? And if that has been you, and if it's not a time issue, or maybe even if it is a time issue, maybe you're labeling it a time issue and it's not really a time issue,
Mhm.
then I would highly recommend that you find someone that you can talk to about this, that you can actually examine these things in deeper, you know, in a deeper way. And it's for these guys, it might not be enough to say, okay, I'm just going to sign up, I'm going to follow the program, and I'm going to do it, because you might have I look at these kind of like these deeper subconscious feelings and beliefs. I look at these things as weights that are holding you down. It's
Yep.
like, yeah, you could go do a workout program dragging 60 pounds on your back through all of it, but holy crap, that's going to be so much harder
Yep.
than if you were to figure out, wow, what are these things that are making it harder for me? What are these things that are holding
Yes.
me back? And it really does take doing that deeper work that a lot of men don't want to do, that maybe they're embarrassed to do, or like me, I felt like I just didn't need it. I was like, I'm so strong and I'm so tough and I'm so great that I don't need to do any of that stuff and I'll still do it better. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually I hit a wall. I'm like, oh wow, I feel
Mm-hmm.
really tired all the time and I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
do stuff because I had all this weight that I was just holding around. um
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the point of this all being that this stuff all gets easier if you can actually get to the root of what's making it difficult.
Yes, and I'm always a fan in these conversations. Kind of when I was talking about the computer program of like getting out of the specific, very conditioned aspect and broadening the picture of what we're doing here.
Mm,
Like, what if what we're doing here, showing up with our bodies, wanting to improve how they look and how they move and how they feel, what if we're doing is healing, becoming more
mm,
whole, becoming healthier? Like, if we zoom out and recognize this is the whole process, then like, wow, you are in the dojo. Your resistance is a gift, showing you where there's parts of yourself deeply that want to be addressed, want to be seen, so that you can just feel good. You can feel whole. And the cool thing, as someone who's also done like a lot of deep work and also showed like learned how my contractions of like losing my dad at a young age created like a false sense of pain motivation that brought me into exercise and led to a whole bunch of different problems. With these things, they're really great to have therapy and talk. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is just shine light on them.
mm,
Like, even if you're listening to this conversation right now and you have a sense of what might be one of your subconscious patterns from your past, oftentimes earlier in childhood, just recognizing it, admitting it, which is like kind of shining light on it. And then in that case, because you see it, it's there. You can accept it in time by just feeling and this is a part of yourself. This is a part of your experience. That actually is the whole healing process.
mm,
It's the things that we repress, that we deny, that we put in small boxes in the corner and don't want to look at, that then get expressed in all these different ways, but aren't actually the deep thing. All those things want to do is be seen and felt.
mm,
Like, you felt powerless, you felt ashamed, you felt outcast. Like, damn, welcome to being human. We all had some version of that then we contracted a personality around. So we just need to see and feel these things. That's why I think the journaling processes are very good.
mhm,
Meditation, therapy, all these stuff is really powerful. And then just zoom out and remember like what you're doing here as you're practicing getting yourself into an exercise routine might be this deeper stuff of like healing resistance patterns due to old trauma. And like I think that's a big point of why we're here as humans, is to like to look at that stuff and to bring wholeness to it, so that we can be our best version, so we don't pass that trauma on to future generations, and that we actually feel happy inside. I'd much rather be like a happy, unhealthy, like a quadriplegic, super happy, joyful person who's super connected to life and understanding. I'd rather be that person than the person who looks great on the exterior but is like absolutely in immense pain on the inside.
yeah,
Right. And if that's true, then we really want joy, not just the abs and the ability to do like the splits, right? So there's something there.
yeah. I think if I ever reach that point, um, that would be cool, but I'm not there yet.
I get
I
it.
honestly, if you present me with the option, you're like, Dean, you can be poor but be in great shape and have terrible relationships, and like, I think I would still like, I don't know. I think I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Hmm.
And I don't know why I say that in this context, because I
Dude,
because
but
we
is that
we're
not
used to having
honesty?
these
That's perfect.
conversations.
Dude, that's
Uh,
perfect.
yeah, I think just being honest, but
Hmm.
um, part of the healing process. Yeah, totally agree with that.
Can we talk a little bit about environment real fast? Because I know we've gotten like into the
Yeah.
depths, and the depths are important. Like we're
Right.
now talking about like the tip of the iceberg is like
Oh,
what we think the problem is. I would love to talk a little about like environment, like in
yeah.
two things, and then you can take
Let's
us wherever you want in the
let's
closing of this.
let's do that. I want to
Account.
say one thing
Go ahead.
about the therapy. Just
Okay.
because like I think I really agree with you what you're saying about just bringing light to it, because you can't actually overanalyze it. You
Mm-hmm.
can't actually go too deep into it. This is something that I've only recently realized, but I had an experience, prolonged experience, where I was focused on the issue so much that the real solution was to not focus on it. And I had
Mm-hmm.
been so used to like, well, I just need to focus on it harder and then I'll solve it. And so having an experience where the solution was to move away from it and not scratch it, that was a really new
Mm-hmm.
thing for me. But I think that's also something to consider in the healing process and in the solution process, is the solution might be to just leave the thing alone.
Well, dude, I mean, I think this is an interesting orientation. And I'm not trying to take this too deep into like the really spiritual, mystical space. As men with like a lot of masculine doing energy, we almost always like look at problems and like we want to do something to fix them and like channel our will to exert it and fix it. And a lot of these things just need to be felt, which is like,
Mm,
you guess you could say is a little more of an open, non-doing feminine. You could potentially label it in that way. But
mm,
like, yeah, these are just parts of expression. We put labels on them, but I completely agree with you. Now, in the environment, because this is maybe kind of brings it back to very practical, I think the fact that your clients, the initial client that we talked about, who doesn't get his workout done at 5 p.m., but may now be able to after this conversation, but gets it done at 11 o'clock, certainly not optimal, but still got it done, is because they had an accountability backstop. Because there was something that they knew they needed to show up on a call with you, or there was some kind of thing that was making it so painful that if they did nothing, they weren't going to succeed. And so I do think creating accountability containers and structure like this is a really helpful tool. So having goals and enrolling other people in like the structure of those things, having a partner where you're actually doing plan check-ins in, like posting that you're going to do this, like on
yeah.
the Manflow Facebook group. Hey guys, I am struggling with this. Like for this next week, I am making the public commitment that I'm going to post at 6 o'clock that I did some kind of movement, and I'm asking for a few people who like see me and are willing to like actually follow up and like, should I do this? Like enrolling people in some kind of structure and container that allows you to have that aspect. That's, it can't be overlooked. It's very, very helpful. It doesn't
Mhm.
solve the deep subconscious stuff, but it's a tactic, and we're using both tactics and this deep art beneath it, and the combination of those seems to be effective.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, it's like you you can't spend your entire day working on the deeper solutions. Sometimes you have to do the fix or the tactic that's going to get you what you need that day. And for in that specific example, what I was looking at um, was, wow, we're spending 5 hours in like this state of dreading your workout, procrastination, and then it gets to this point where we move into more of a shame-based motivation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing that, oh wow, this is like this, right? It's kind of like dirty fuel, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it'll get it done, but at what cost
Yeah.
to you? Like if
It
the
doesn't nourish you. It exhausts you
right,
more.
right. And if
Yeah.
if your internal dialogue is you fat piece of crap, like go do your workout, and that's what gets you to do your workout, like that's not, that's not the place that you want to be. And kind of the trend that I've seen, and if you've listened to this podcast, it's a trend that we've seen in our member interviews, is that that is something that people might need when they're getting started. Like maybe for the first month, it is kind of like this
Mm-hmm.
shame based motivation, because that's what we grew up with. That's how we think about. I think that's the cultural norm when it comes to thinking about exercise and healthy living is like, okay, I'm not going to be a fat piece of crap, so I'm going to do my workout and I'm going to eat this instead of that. But over time, you might realize that that doesn't make you feel good, and that if you can shift to more of a gratitude based or more toward this, oh wow, like I feel good about myself for doing this. And I look forward to that feeling that I feel after I do a workout. And just being in general, like shifting to more of a kindness
Yeah.
mentality, then people start to have a lot more success. They don't think about their workouts in a more negative way. And just a little tactic that they can also use is just giving yourself permission to skip your workout that day. Like rather than spending 5 hours or 3 hours or whatever it is dreading your workout, if you can just say, you know what, today was a really busy day. I'm not going to stop working out entirely because it's still important to me, but today it's just not happening. If you can just give yourself that grace and move on, and then not spend your entire evening feeling crappy about yourself, like,
Hmm.
wow, wouldn't that be so much better than 5 hours of just making yourself feel like crap because you couldn't do your workout that day?
I completely agree. And if you're someone who's in a rut of having that pattern of missing workouts, you do have time for a 1 minute plank, a 3 minutes of foam rolling your back, and
Mm,
a set of 20 push ups.
hmm.
Like there is something you can do to feel like you checked a box and got into motion. When I don't have time to
Yeah.
work out, I ride my bike for 5 minutes. That's it. It's always fun. I
Hmm.
always enjoy it. I never regret it. I almost always have time for that. So
Yeah.
again, just the micro concept. A couple of things. When I was competitive bodybuilding around 10 years ago, one thing I would do is always write out my workout the day ahead of time so that I went to bed knowing what I was going to do the next day. It was like that important to me. I knew the training, I knew the sets, reps, I knew the weights, and I was allowing to percolate in my subconscious in dream state, and like I had awareness so that the next day I didn't have that resistance of needing to like figure out what the program was or what to do and to exert the mental energy amidst the
Yeah.
chaos of doing all the different things. So what if you gave yourself that gift? Like, what if part of your blessing of the next day was being like, oh, this is the exact workout I'm doing here. If I'm streaming it, it's open on the tab of the browser or it's printed out. Like, that is a cue. That is paving the path for success. Like, that seems minor, but it's actually quite major.
Anything that you can do to reduce the energy required to do your workout ahead of
Mm-hmm.
time is worth doing. So, like
Mm-hmm.
planning the workout in advance, like you could get super in depth with this. You could have the TV on in the living room with the app loaded, with your yoga mat laid out, and your clothes like already there with a water bottle set up. You
Mm-hmm.
could even put like a flashing light on there that says like yoga. Like so you walk in to your room and you're like, okay, like it's clear that I only have one thing to do right now, right? So like
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of doing the work ahead of time or doing the things ahead of time so that you are basically you're playing like it's like you're guiding yourself down a path, right? You're like
Mm-hmm.
you're putting a fence on where you need to go so that there's only one way that you can go. You're just making it so likely that you do the thing that you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
which it could seem over the top, but yeah, I'm a big fan of what you're talking about.
And I have one final thought in closing. We have the the unthinking and the misthinking or the improper thinking that certain things exist in isolation. Like how you're showing up for your workouts or lack thereof is interconnected in affecting all your areas of your life.
Mm,
Like, because if it's initiating some kind of stress or shame, that is certainly showing up in even subtle ways in how you engage in your relationships, how you engage in your work, and also your behaviors during the morning and afternoon hours of the day. Like, how much scrolling, how much procrastination, how productive you are, whether you crushed it or not, like is also impacting those conditions when you get home of how easy that's going to be. It is all interconnected.
hmm.
And so it's like to also be aware, like when you're in the middle of the day, you're not really doing great. Maybe you're just feeling a little distracted. Like that is going to make it more likely that your workout's going to be harder later today. And the contrary is also true. Like you're really on your game, you're eating the right kinds of foods. It makes it easier that you're going to work out. So feel and see that these are all interconnected things. And if you're in the middle of the day and you're depleting your dopamine with a bunch of BS, like don't be shocked later in the day when you don't feel like you have the motivation and you start doing all the small things and ignoring the bigger things. So we're playing this whole game, and the goal is not to be perfect, but to recognize that it is all interconnected, to use the strategies that we laid out today to get you into initiating energy, to
Hmm.
get into motion, which will help you feel better. And Dean, I mean, I 100% know there was some really useful stuff in here, and I really appreciate your wisdom on this topic, both from like a reading and academic standpoint, as well as from having coached so many men through this process. Like, if someone listens to this and like takes it seriously and takes those one or two key ideas out of this and applies them, like this has the potential to be a life-changing conversation for someone. I feel very strongly in that.
Yeah. Same to you, man. Always appreciate you having, joining and ping ponging ideas and going deeper. And my final thought is I talk about this all the time, but it might not be the depth of the habit that you want right now, right? Maybe the habit isn't a 60 minutes of exercise every day, but if you start with something that turns consistent, you can always build upon that, right? So if your baseline of your fitness habit is I have 5 minutes in the morning where I stretch or where I go for a walk
Mm-hmm.
or do push ups against a wall, that's something that you can build upon, right? So I'm
Yep.
always a big fan of promoting, cool. You're not, you're not, doing as much as you want to yet, but you are doing something that establishes the base of a habit that can lead to something greater. So I think where we get into trouble a lot is thinking, oh, that's not worth it. But if you look at it from the path of, if you instead of looking at it, well, is 5 minutes of it worth it? Well, if you look at it instead from, okay, is building phase one and establishing that consistency because it can lead to phase 10, now is it worth it? And then it
Mm-hmm.
absolutely becomes worth your time, right? So if you look at it from this long-term perspective, instead of, is this going to get me a six-pack abs, within 2 weeks? Then, I mean, and most people want to do this for life, right? We're not just trying to start up a 30-minute, 30-day workout program because we need something at the end of the month. Where most of us are doing this because we have a clear idea of what we want to do with our health. We know that we want to be able to do what we want to do physically as we get older. We know that we want to travel and do the things that we haven't been able to do while we're busy professionals, maybe. Um, maybe you want to be around longer for your kids. Maybe you've seen people in your life who are not independent and you're like, I'm not going to end up like that person, right? So keep in mind the clarity. Remember that everything that you can do potentially leads to habits that can be built, and
Mm-hmm.
listen to other people for more tips and advice and
On
things.
that note, I'd love to say too, like Dean, you and I are getting together at a conference that I'm throwing this August,
Party.
2025, Labor Day weekend. And the conference is called Fit Father, Fit Mother Live. We're bringing around 20 health experts, including Dean, to the event to basically work on this exact topic: how to make health more sustainable, how to build bulletproof, consistent routines, by addressing mindset on day one with some incredible trainers. We have David Bayer, who's one of the world's foremost mindset and human performance experts, coming in. Akshay Nanavati, who is a world record setting Antarctica explorer. This guy pulled a 400-pound sled for 60 days, like for 14 hours a day. So he has some mental tricks on how to get through hard stuff. He's going to be sharing some of those. Dean's going to be guiding us through live workouts. We have breath work. I'm going to be talking about hormones and longevity and peptides. We're going to have expos with cold plunges and saunas. So if you want to drop in deep for a few days, there's going to be some links in the show notes or wherever you listen to this. We have special deals for the Manflow Yoga community. And you can also ask Dean's team for some links as well. We would love for you to join us, whether you come for the full 3 days or drop in for 1 or 2 days. Yeah, come check us out. I mean, the power of getting in person and getting your cup filled is massive. So just want to say that.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of people at these events in the past who, I just want to call it to the people who might not feel like they fit in with the community and say, like, these are the kinds of things where we go to. And a lot of the people we talk with say, like, I've never done something like this before. I've never taken time away from my partner or from my family to actually go take care of myself. And, or maybe you think like, oh, you know what? I don't really fit in with other guys. Like, I don't really want to, that's not where I hang out. And the reality is the people who attend these events, there's a lot of guys like that. And then they get there and they're like, oh, wow, this is really cool. This is, I can't believe I was scared to come here. And so, and being able to meet other people who have similar goals, being able to have that motivation, form accountability partners. These are
Hmm.
things that you come away with a lot of motivation. And yeah, they're life-changing experiences. So I'm going to be there doing yoga, I think most days, probably every
Yeah,
day.
every day, morning workouts, yoga, and doing a lot of activations throughout the day. So yoga and manflow is going to be woven into the entire event.
Yes. So I'll be there. We've actually got a few members who are going to come run our booth for us, so you can meet other members there and meet them and hang out and talk manful yoga and how this all fits together. So yeah, check the link in the show notes if you guys are interested in attending. Um, Phoenix, August 29th through 31st.
Labor Day weekend in Phoenix. It'll be hot. You get to give Dean a hug. There's so many wins.
Yes. Hot hugs for everybody. Sweet. All right, man. Well, thanks
That's where
again
we
for
end. We started
that's
with
where we end.
bulldozers. We ended with hot hugs, and in the middle there was some stuff.
There was some stuff. Man, as always, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom, your expertise. It's been cool seeing our communities interact, and yeah, always looking forward to more. So thank you.
Same, brother. Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it inspires you to be a better man. I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview. Check out the show notes for links either for events or other things related to this interview. If you're already part of the Manful Yoga community or maybe Fit Father Project, I want to thank you for being part of those communities. I encourage you to be active in our Facebook group as well as in our app. If you're not already part of the community, you can join with a free 7-day trial at manfulyoga.com/join. If you're enjoying this podcast and you haven't already, please leave a review. You can do that on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, wherever you listen. You can also watch video versions in the Manful Yoga members area and app, either in the app or the website, as well as on the Better Man Podcast YouTube channel. If you need a bit of an easier start, I do have a free 7-day beginner's yoga for men program. You can sign up for that at manfulyoga.com/7, the number 7, DC, and I'll put the link for that in the show notes here. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview. I hope it inspires you to be a better man. I'll see you on the next one.